Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. Today, we're tackling a topic that's crucial for any English learner at the intermediate level. English listening practice podcasts. I'm Alex, and I'm super excited to share some insights with you today.
And I'm Sarah. I'm always on the hunt for great listening resources. So I'm really looking forward to picking your brain. Alex, where do we even start when it comes to finding the right podcast?
That's the million-dollar question. Sarah, so many podcasts, so little time. First, consider your interests. If you're bored, you won't listen. Find topics that genuinely excite you.
Okay, that makes total sense. But what about the language level? How do you know if a podcast is truly intermediate and not secretly advanced?
Good point. Look for podcasts that use clear and relatively simple language, but still introduce new vocabulary and grammar structures. If you understand around 70 to 80% of what's being said, it's probably a good fit. Don't be afraid to try a few out.
Okay, 70 to 80% comprehension. Got it. I've definitely made the mistake of jumping into podcasts that were way over my head. It's so frustrating.
I know the feeling. I once tried listening to a podcast about quantum physics, in Spanish. It was a disaster. So, once we've found a suitable podcast, what's the best way to actually practice listening?
That's what I want to know. I usually just passively listen while I'm doing other things, like cleaning or cooking. Is that effective?
It's better than nothing, but it's not the most effective. Active listening is key. Try listening in shorter bursts, maybe 15 to 20 minutes at a time, and really focus on what's being said.
Okay, shorter bursts. What should I be doing during those 15 to 20 minutes? Taking notes. Trying to transcribe everything.
Note-taking is great. Jot down key vocabulary, phrases, or ideas. You could also pause the podcast frequently and try to summarize what you've just heard in your own words, even if it's just mentally.
Interesting point. Summarizing sounds like a really good exercise. What about transcripts? Should I be reading along with the audio?
Transcripts can be a helpful tool, especially when you're struggling to understand a particular section. But try to listen without the transcript first, then use the transcript to clarify any confusing parts.
Okay, so resist the urge to jump straight to the transcript. Makes sense. Any other active listening techniques we should know about?
Yeah, try predicting what the speaker is going to say next. It forces you to really pay attention and anticipate the flow of the conversation. Also, listen multiple times. You'll pick up on different things each time.
Multiple listenings. That's a commitment. But I can see how it would help. So, we've covered finding the right podcast and active listening techniques. What are some common mistakes that intermediate learners make when using listening podcasts?
One big mistake is getting discouraged too easily. Don't expect to understand everything perfectly right away. Learning takes time and effort. And don't be afraid to choose podcasts that are a little challenging.
That's a good reminder. I definitely tend to get frustrated when I don't understand everything. Another mistake I think learners make is not focusing on the pronunciation of the words they learn.
Absolutely. Listening podcasts are a great way to improve your pronunciation. Pay attention to how native speakers pronounce words and try to imitate them. Record yourself and compare it to the podcast.
Oh, recording yourself is a great tip. I always feel a bit silly doing it, but it really does help. Any other common pitfalls?
Another one is relying too heavily on subtitles or transcripts. As we talked about before, use them sparingly. Your goal is to train your ear to understand spoken English, not to read English.
That makes perfect sense. So, let's say we've avoided those pitfalls. We're actively listening. And we're not getting discouraged. What are some pro tips for maximizing our learning from English listening podcasts?
Pro tip number 1. Vary your sources. Don't just stick to one podcast, listen to a variety of podcasts with different accents, speaking styles, and topics. This will help you become a more well-rounded listener.
Variety is the spice of life, even when it comes to language learning. I love that. What else?
Another pro tip. Try listening to podcasts at different speeds. Most podcast apps allow you to adjust the playback speed. Start at a slower speed if you're struggling, and gradually increase the speed as you improve.
That's brilliant. I never thought of that. It's like weightlifting for your ears. Push them a little harder each time. Another pro tip that I think is useful is to listen to the podcasts while doing something active, like walking. It helps me focus better.
That's a great idea. Getting your body moving can definitely boost your brain power. And here's one more. Try to use the new vocabulary and phrases you learn in your own conversations. It'll help you remember them better.
Practice using the new words. Absolutely. It's one thing to understand them, but it's another thing to actually use them. Can you give us a real-world example of how you've used podcasts to improve your listening skills? Alex.
Sure. I used to struggle with understanding fast speech. So, I started listening to a podcast where the host spoke really quickly. At first, I could barely understand a word, but I kept at it, and eventually, I got used to the pace. Now, I can understand fast speech much more easily.
Wow. That's impressive. So, persistence really pays off. What about a more specific example? Like, a time when a podcast helped you understand a particular idiom or cultural reference.
Okay, so I was listening to a podcast about American culture, and the hosts kept using the phrase, to bite the bullet. I had no idea what it meant. So, I looked it up, and now I know that it means to face a difficult situation with courage and stoicism.
That's a great example. And now you can use that idiom in your own conversations. So, to recap, we've talked about finding the right podcast, active listening techniques, common mistakes, pro tips, and real-world examples. What are some common questions or concerns that listeners might have about using podcasts for language learning?
A big one is, what if I don't understand anything? It's okay. Start with easier podcasts and gradually work your way up. Don't be afraid to rewind and listen again. And remember, even native speakers don't understand everything perfectly.
That's so true. We all miss things sometimes. Another question I often hear is, how much time should I spend listening to podcasts each day? Single quote.
That depends on your schedule and your goals. But even just 15 to 20 minutes a day can make a big difference. Consistency is key. Try to make it a habit, like brushing your teeth.
Okay, consistency is key. And what if you can't find any podcasts that are exactly at your level? Should you aim higher or lower?
I'd say aim a little higher. It's better to be challenged than to be bored. You can always use the tips we've talked about, like slowing down the playback speed and using transcripts to help you understand.
Great advice. So, to summarize, English listening practice podcasts are a fantastic way to improve your listening skills at the intermediate level. Remember to find podcasts that you enjoy. Practice active listening. Avoid common mistakes. And use our pro tips to maximize your learning.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to experiment and find what works best for you. Learning a language is a journey, not a destination. Enjoy the process.
Before we wrap up, Alex, What's your one final piece of advice for our viewers who are eager to improve their listening skills with podcasts?
Just start. Don't overthink it. Pick a podcast that sounds interesting. Put on your headphones and dive in. The more you listen, the better you'll become. Trust me.
Perfect advice. Thanks so much for sharing your wisdom, Alex. And thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and leave a comment below telling us about your favorite English listening podcasts. What are we talking about next time?
Next time, we'll be diving into the world of English idioms and how to use them correctly. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Can't wait. See you all then.